In the frozen stillness of the Alaskan wilderness, where silence reigned like an unchallenged monarch and the snow swallowed every sound, something broke the calm. Something so unnatural it froze Evan Cole mid-step. He had heard wolves howl, lynxes scream, moose bellow. He'd heard the thunderous charge of bears in heat and the guttural roars of males defending territory. But never this. It was a cry. A low, aching wail that carried through the trees like a grieving lullaby. Human-like. Desperate. Impossible. Evan lowered his thermal scope and squinted into the forest, wind howling through pine needles like whispers. His boots crunched against the snow as he turned his head, trying to locate the source of the sound. It wasn't repeated. It was pulsed, uneven, like sobs trying not to be heard. He stood still. His breath misted in front of him, slowly drifting away like the comfort of certainty. Something was out there, and it was in pain. Evan Cole wasn't easily shaken. He had spent 15 years navigating the merciless Alaskan frontier, tracking, tagging, documenting wildlife patterns. He respected the cold, respected the predators, respected the line between man and nature. He'd survived storms, bear charges, even a rock slide. But this sound, it slid under his skin. He was here on assignment to check telemetry data on tagged wolves, but that mission now seemed distant, trivial. The sound had changed everything. His gloved hand moved to his DSLR, switching it on. The camera's red light blinked to life. If something was happening out here, something unusual, he needed to document it. His sponsors would demand proof. And somewhere deeper inside him, a voice whispered, "You'll want to remember this." The second cry came. Closer, lower. Then a shape moved in the trees. Large, shadowed, heavy. Evan stepped back but didn't flee. Instead, he crouched low behind a fallen spruce, heart thundering. The trees parted like curtains. And there she was, a grizzly bear, huge, at least 700 pounds, with fur mottled by frost and mud. But she didn't roar or charge. She didn't even raise her head fully. She limped forward on one front leg, breath steaming from her flared nostrils, and stood there, 15 feet away. Evan swallowed. Slowly, silently, he clicked the record button on the camera. The bear looked at him. Her eyes weren't wild with rage. They were wide with something worse, fear. Her chest heaved with every breath. Her mouth opened and that sound came again. That cry. Long. Broken. A sob no bear should make. Then she turned, walked a few paces into the trees, stopped, looked back at him, then walked a few more feet, stopped again, gesturing, guiding. It wasn't random. It was deliberate. Evan's body screamed at him to stay put, call for backup, follow protocol. But something deeper took over. Something ancient, intuitive. He rose from his crouch, slowly, hands visible. The bear didn't flinch. He began to follow, carefully placing his boots in the same tracks she made. Every 30 seconds or so, the bear would glance back. That sound, half moan, half plea, kept leaking from her throat like she was trying to speak a language her body didn't know. Evan filmed everything. His hand trembled from more than the cold. He narrated softly into the mic, describing the behavior, the unprecedented nature of what he was witnessing. "She's guiding me somewhere," he whispered. "Not attacking. She's asking." The forest closed around them, trees thickening, light dimming. Evan checked his GPS. They were heading northeast toward a creek he'd crossed only once, years ago. A brutal, rocky place. The bear limped faster now, urgently, then suddenly, she stopped. At the edge of a shallow, icy creek, partially frozen and rimmed with jagged rocks, she stood completely still. Her breath was ragged. Her body trembled. She looked at him, and then down. Evan stepped closer, scanning the creek bed. Nothing at first, just snow, rocks, and ice until he saw it. A bundle. barely noticeable beneath a layer of frozen mud and broken twigs. Then it moved. Just a twitch, a shiver, a sound. He ran. It was a cub. Small, frail. Its brown fur clung to its ribs, soaked through, matted with dirt and blood. One hind leg was twisted unnaturally, and its breathing came in tiny, shallow puffs. The cub's eyes fluttered open at Evan's presence, but it didn't flinch. It couldn't. "Oh, God," Evan murmured, dropping to his knees beside it. His gloves came off. He touched the cub gently, checking for warmth. There was barely any. The fur was like slush. He pulled out his emergency thermal blanket, wrapped the cub tightly, and examined the injury. The leg was broken, maybe crushed. There was bruising around the belly, but it was the cold that was killing it faster than anything. The mother bear sat down on the opposite side of the cub, just 3 feet away. She didn't growl, didn't move, just stared at Evan, eyes glassy as if asking the only question that mattered. "Can you save her?" Evan reached for his emergency satchel. He had glucose gel, water packs, hand warmers, anything to generate heat. He placed 2 warmers beneath the blanket, rubbed the cub's chest gently, coaxing life back into its tiny body. His camera was still rolling, forgotten on a nearby rock. "I've got you, little one," he whispered. "I've got you." Minutes passed. Long, painful minutes. The cub let out a weak chirp, so soft it nearly broke Evan's heart. The mother bear leaned forward, her nose just inches from her cub's face, and let out a low, guttural hum. A mother's song. A goodbye, or a prayer. Then something cracked behind them. A twig. A step. Evan's instincts kicked in. He turned slowly, not wanting to startle the mother bear, not wanting to draw attention to the cub. Something moved behind the trees. Not wind, not branches. Eyes. Watching. Dozens of them. A pack of wolves. Silent. Lurking. The smell of blood. The sounds of weakness. It had drawn them in. The mother bear rose instantly, letting out a deep, echoing roar that shook the trees. Her body flared with primal force despite her injury. But Evan could see her shaking. She was at her limit. He reached into his pack and pulled out a flare. Without hesitation, he struck it. Whoosh! And the bright red flame cut through the dusk like lightning. The wolves scattered back but didn't flee. They circled, watching. Evan stepped in front of the cub, holding the flare in one hand, the other gripping his survival knife. His breath came in clouds. His pulse pounded like a drumbeat. The mother bear moved beside him, not behind, not in front. Beside. Man and beast, standing shoulder to shoulder. The wolves growled low, testing. The flare hissed. No one moved. And above the tension, the cub whimpered once more. Still alive. Still holding on. Evan turned slowly, heart pounding. Not out of fear, but because he realizes the mother bear isn't afraid of him. There's something else in the woods. Eyes. Dozens of them. Low to the ground. Flickering between branches. Silent. Waiting. Wolves. A whole pack. Drawn by the scent of blood, the weakness of the cub, the staggering vulnerability of a limping mother bear, and a man foolish enough to kneel in the middle of it all. They begin to circle, silent, methodical. The forest feels smaller now, the shadows longer, the air denser. Evan's hand moves quickly but deliberately into his backpack. He doesn't break eye contact with the trees, doesn't make sudden moves. He knows predator logic. He knows fear triggers pursuit. He pulls out a flare and strikes it hard against the igniter. A burst of light erupts, brilliant red, angry and hissing. The wolves recoil, but they don't scatter. They pace just outside the flare's radius, emboldened by numbers. Evan holds the flame high, casting sharp, twitching shadows over the snow. His other hand rests on his belt, knife ready, heart racing. Then, to his side, a low sound. Not from the wolves. From the bear. A rumble deep in her chest. No longer a cry, but a warning. a rising growl that sends shivers through the earth. The grizzly moves forward, slowly, broken, limping, but massive. And suddenly she's beside Evan. Not in front, not behind. Beside him, man and beast, shoulder to shoulder. A line in the snow the wolves are not willing to cross. The pack leader steps forward, teeth bared. One snap from the mother bear's jaw and the flare's hiss seem to be enough. The wolves retreat, not defeated, but deciding today isn't worth the cost. One by one, they vanish into the trees. And just like that, the forest goes still. Evan exhales, shaking. The flare fizzles out in his hand, now half burned. He tosses it aside and turns to the cub, still wrapped in the thermal blanket. He drops to his knees, reaching out. The cub's breathing is shallow, ragged. Each exhale a puff of warm air quickly lost to the cold. Evan gently clears ice from its nostrils and mouth. He checks for any blockages. The cub twitches, weak but alive. He runs a hand across the ribs, too thin. It hasn't eaten in days. The foil blanket helps retain heat, but it's not enough. Evan adds hand warmers beneath the cub's body, layering extra insulation from his own coat. He mixes water and glucose gel from his pack, carefully tipping it into the cub's mouth drop by drop. The cub swallows feebly. Above him, the mother watches every move. Her massive body hunched forward, eyes fixed on Evan's hands. She doesn't move, doesn't make a sound, just watches, like a surgeon's assistant. Evan glances up. "I'm doing what I can," he whispers, "but we need to move fast. The problem is distance. Evan's base camp is nearly 5 miles away, through harsh terrain, icy slopes, unstable creeks, and the sun is already dipping behind the mountains. He looks around for a solution. His sled is back at camp, but he has rope, and he has branches. He gets to work. Within 20 minutes, he's fashioned a crude sled, sturdy limbs lashed together with climbing rope and reinforced with a thermal pad. It's not perfect, but it will hold. Gently, he lifts the cub into the sled. The cub groans softly, but doesn't fight. Evan ties it down securely, then bundles extra cloth around it. The mother bear steps forward. For a heartbeat, Evan tenses. But she doesn't attack. She simply lowers her head and sniffs her cub, licks its ear once, then looks at Evan again, long and hard. She's not just letting him take her child, she's coming with him.